Hello, Michael from CTW here, and today we're going to work on basically building a test that is used to collect data while you adjust your damper. So we basically call this an adjustment test. You can certainly name it anything you want, but we are going to run a speed, get a prompt in the software, you're going to make an adjustment, you're going to run the speed again over and over until you go through all your sweeps, or however you set it up. It's all up to you. But it is a great way to characterize your shock through the sweep adjustments, and ultimately you will be shocked that not all the adjustments are the same. They change and have bigger effect and lesser effect as you go. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to use the test we were started with, my first test expanded, where we have a single speed, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm just going to slow it down to 5 inches per second, just so it's not as loud. So run test speed. It's going to run that speed. You're going to set your adjuster wherever you want it. I'm going to go ahead, you can hear it clicking. I'm going to go ahead and close my adjuster. So I'm going to start at what I call -1. And you can actually type in a name here. So this is -1. So you can name it and it'll show up on the screen and it'll show up in your data file later. So this is -1. Now I'm going to do prompt user. So I grab that, prompt user. I'm going to drag that up under run test speed. So basically what this will do is prompt user tells the dyno to do something, right? So we're going to tell it to go down to bottom dead center, and then it's going to show up on the screen, and it's going to basically ask you to do something. And hopefully at this point you're going to make an adjustment, right? So whatever that adjustment is, either -1 click, -2, a sweep, whatever your adjuster is, that is up to you, but it's going to run a speed, and then it's going to do prompt user, and then we're going to do run another speed. I don't know how many adjusters you have, but you're going to want to build. You're going to think about this a little bit, and it may take some time, but you'll eventually get the feeling of it. I'm going to do another prompt user, another test speed, and then we will go ahead and run that. So run test speed, prompt, run test speed, prompt. So this will be a 2 adjustment test. We're going to start at -1. If I go to the next run speed, I'm going to call this -3, and then I'm going to go to the last one and call this -5. So there you have, you can see how the run test speeds show up over here and how they're named. Certainly name it anything you want, and basically that gives you the information when it comes on the screen. So if I now do save as, I'm going to take our first test expanded, and I'm going to say my first test 2 adjustments. Again, try to name your test names that help you in the future. And I know I spelled that wrong, but name it something you can find later. And I use this anytime we train somebody. In 6 months, you want to be able to find the data file, so name it properly. Put it in a folder properly. Same thing with your tests. You want to use your tests, name them so that you can find them when you need it. You don't want to just call it test 1, test 2, test 3. If it's an adjustment test, you want to call it adjustment test. You might even name the speed that it's going to run in your test and make it so you can find it. Now, the other thing I forgot to do, but you added those test speeds, make sure you make them all the same speed, because basically you want to run all the same speed and make an adjustment in between, so you have the adjustments over each speed. Now, there's always a big question of what speed do you use? I can't give you that. I do know people do it in various ways. Certainly some racing bodies that use 6 inches per second. I know of people that run a PVP, and they'll collect all the data, then they'll make an adjustment, then they'll run another PVP. So they have these various PVP sweeps. It's really up to you. 5 inches per second is a good place to start. You might, depending on the way your bleed is set up, the way your adjuster's set up, you might even run slower. You might just run 10 inches per second and base everything off of that. That is something, again, for you to use and for you to learn. So basically we're going to run 5 and make some adjustments. I'm going to do save, And again, you remember when I do save, my first test, it loads over here. So we're going to go ahead and do execute test. So I save the name. You're going to save it to whatever you want. And it is going to, it's right now doing the rod force. Okay, so it ran at -1, 5 inches per second, and there it is, prompt user. I make my adjustment, and I click OK. It's now running at this next adjustment, and you know what's coming. It will be prompt user, make your next adjustment, and click OK, and it will run that final speed. And there you have your 4 adjustments from -1 to -3 to -5 going up the graph. So clearly a big rebound adjuster in there, and you now have one file with all 3 speeds in it. Now some other things you can do that I forgot to mention, but you've named your speeds. If I do prompt user, I can type in here information that's going to show up on the button instead of select OK. So if I do 2 clicks open, that's what's going to show up. And then if I come down here, I could do the same thing. I could do 2 clicks open, or I could say go to -10. You can see that you can use the prompts to tell you where to go. So I'm going to do that, and we'll start over, and you'll see, go back to where I started, you'll see how that all works. So I'm going to go ahead and do save, and you'll see the prompt user come up. You should never use A and B as your test file names, but clearly for the video, that's what we're doing. You always want to take advantage of naming the files so that, again, you can find them later. That is the trick. I've seen everything done, and people learn the hard way that they better name them and put them where they can find them later. So you can see 2 clicks open. So now you can actually tell yourself to remind it, because I do know there's people that have 15 steps to this, and it's easy. Somebody yells your name across the shop, it's easy to get distracted. But if you have every prompt named about where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do, you can follow along that. And I know it's happened to me, but so I'll go 2 clicks. I'll just listen to what I wrote. And the next one, go to -10. And I'll do that. So basically you can use the prompts to tell you what to do. And there you go. Now we have everything on the screen. Easy enough to turn off all the A's so that we're just looking at the B's. -1, -3, -5. I didn't change the name. You can see where the test builder, this -3, where it shows up in the ID -3, and then the file name is B, -5. You see how that works, and use it to your advantage so that you can get your data, you can understand your data, and quickly tune your damper. There you go. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, contact us using the information in the video description.